We are live. Welcome, everyone. That was from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. That was Bell's theme. And I swear to you, it's going to be a really interesting night because I knew this day was coming. I truly did. I truly knew this day was coming. Unfortunately for the rest of us, but I was actually hoping this whole interview was going to be released, I would say right before the election, to be honest. Like maybe a month or two away from the election. Hell, even a week away from the election in the United States. But the truth be told is that it's sad. It really is sad about what's going on with Tucker. It really is sad because this is like the worst interview I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen interviews with Justin Trudeau where they ask him what his favorite Marvel Avenger is. This is the most softball interview I've ever seen in my fucking life. And, of course, he doesn't ask actual questions. He doesn't do any fucking journalism. Instead, he's just a fucking stag man, the deer in the headlights look, basically just letting this guy say common sense, but never actually saying why is his books banned? What are the contents of his books? Why are they banned? Why do we care about one philosopher? What is his connections to the Kremlin? He has connections to the Kremlin. His book has been written by the fucking by this fucking walrus motherfucking looking guy right here. We're gonna get into it and just go with the flow on this one.
Aleksandr Dugin is a 62-year-old
virgin, but no reality.
Russian academic philosopher. He spent his life in Moscow. He was an anti-Soviet dissident as a young man. And now he is famous the world over, in the English language press anyway, as, quote, Putin's brain. But he is not a political figure here in Russia. He is.
He is. He has been a part of a party. He's been part of the Eurasian Youth Party. He was part of the National Bolsheviks in the 1990s when he wrote the book, The Foundation of Geopolitics, which is the whole reason why everyone doesn't like him. Okay, Tucker?
Once again, a philosopher. And his ideas are deeply offensive to some people.
Well, so is Herbert Marcuse, but, we don't call Herbert Marcuse a philosopher. We call him a Marxist or a cultural Marxist. But
in August of 2022, his only daughter was murdered in Moscow when a car bomb killed her. U.S. intelligence says she was murdered by the Ukrainian government, and we take that at face value. But what's
interesting, and this is the thing that no one brings up about that whole bombing incident, was that apparently Dugin switched cars last minute, so that bomb was meant for him. But let's just stand on the graves of Dugina. The fucking thought.
Interesting is that once again, Aleksandr Dugin is not a military leader. He's not a close daily advisor to Vladimir Putin. He is a writer who writes about big ideas. And for this, his books have been banned by the Biden administration in the United States. You cannot buy them.
No, wrong, incorrect. They've been banned since when Trump was around. They were always banned in the United States. They've been banned, I want to say, probably since 2015 or so. Okay? Biden didn't do that. That was way before Biden.
On Amazon. Banning books in the United States because the ideas inside are too dangerous.
No, Tucker, they're not too dangerous. It's not the ideas that get you. It's how fast they come at you that gets you. I am all for one. I am for banning books like the Bible, especially if they're published by the communist Chinese, where they flat out lie and say Jesus Christ is, a descendant of Mao or something along those lines. Shit that's actually blatant fucking propaganda. But he'll never ask the question of what are these books? Why were they banned? He'll never bring it up.
He's often described again in the English language press as far right. We'll let you assess, but we wanted to talk to him about some of his ideas, these ideas that are so dangerous that his only daughter was murdered over them and his book's been banned in the United States. And so we're happy to have him join us now. Mr. Dugin, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and welcome to Moscow.
Of course, thank you. So we were talking off camera. Actually, we were having a conversation that we were not going to film, just interested to meet you. But what you said was so interesting that we got a couple of cameras and put this together. And my question to you was, what do you think is happening in the English language countries? And I said, all of them, United States, Canada, Great Britain, New Zealand, Australia, all at once decided to turn
South Africa, and all these different Anglo countries. So we gotta cast the biggest, broadest stroke we can to make sure that we keep it vague enough that people won't be able to know details, but have it same enough that everyone can project onto it. Just like how the English really give a shit about who gets elected in the United States, and the Canadians somehow are invested in the United States election, right? And that's all the end of the world if they don't get it, if they don't get elected. Oh my!
Seemed to turn against themselves. You had this great turmoil, and some of the behavior seemed very self-destructive. And where do you think, as an observer, that comes from?
So I could just express my reading of that. It demands a little patience. So I think that everything started with individualism. So individualism, that was a wrong understanding of the human nature, of the nature of man. When you identify individualism with the man, with the human nature, you cut all the relations to everything else. So you
How? You could have individualism and not burn this guy at the stake for something his great-grandfather did, right? I mean, how?
Have very special idea of the subject, philosophical subject, as individual. And everything started in the Anglo-Saxon world with Protestant reform and with nominalism. Before that, nominalist attitude that there are no ideas, only things, only individual things. So individual, it was the key, and is still key concept that was put in the center of liberal ideology. And liberalism, as in my reading, it is a kind of historical and cultural and political and philosophical process of liberation of individual, of any kind of collective identity. Collective.
No, incorrect. I could call this guy I can identify him as a fucking walrus. That doesn't mean he has to identify as a walrus. Someone could call me an asshole on the internet. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to identify with it. Well, is that what he's talking about? What, the collective identity of being an asshole? You can be an individual, but at the same time, there is a separation between the two. It depends on the context. Again, broad strokes.
Or that transcends individual. And that started with refuse of Catholic Church as collective identity, of empire.
Well, what about Rome? Like, could we talk about Rome? Like, isn't that like a collective identity? Couldn't we then argue that, like, all the individual rights and crap like that were given in the later parts of the Roman Empire were very much the thing that destroyed the Roman Empire? It didn't start with the Anglos. Hell, you can even go back and say as the French Revolution, right? Why does it have to be the Anglos? Well, because there's a simple reason why. Russia is 100% good. They can't do nothing. And those dirty Atlantean bastards, those freaking Anglo-Saxons, they're the ones who are truly the white devil, so to speak.
Western Empire as collective identity. After that, it was a revolt against a national state as collective identity in favor of purely civil society. After that, there was a big fight of the 20th century between liberalism, communism, and fascism, and liberalism has won once more.
Yes.
So, and after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was only liberalism, and Francis Fukuyama has pointed out correctly that there are no more any ideologies except of liberalism, and liberalism. That was...
Well, I mean, you got communism and fascists still running around, and you got this stupid fucking walrus's fourth political theory that this totally unique and totally a fourth position, guys. It's totally not a third position. It's just a rewriting of fascism with Russian favoritism.
Liberation of this individual from any kind of collective identity. There were only two collective identities to liberate from. Gender identity, because it is collective identity. You are man or woman collectively, so you could...
No, that's an objective identity. It's not a collective identity. It's an objective identity, Dugin. This is not fucking hard. We collectively identify as it's the boys' locker room. And this guy was bullied in high school. Oh, you're not allowed to go into girls' locker room. You're not part of that collective identity. No, you're just not a girl. It's that simple.
Yes.
Be alone. A liberation from gender, and that has led to transgenders, to LGBT, and new form of sexual individualism. So sex is something optional. And that was not just deviation of liberalism. That was necessarily elements of implementation and the victory of this liberal ideology. And the last step that is not yet totally made is liberation from human identity, humanity optional. And when now we are choosing, or you in the West, you are choosing the sex you want, as you want. And the last step in this process of liberalism, implementation of liberalism, will mean precisely the human optional. So you can choose your individual identity to be human, not to be human. And that has a name: transhumanism, posthumanism, singularity, artificial intelligence.
Oh, he's scared of this. The chaos magician is scared of the fucking singularity. He's terrified of that shit.
Klaus, Schwab, Kurzweil, or Harari, they openly declare that is inevitable future of humanity. So we arrive to the historical terminal station that we finally, 5 centuries ago, we have embarked in this train, and now we are arriving at the last station. So that is my reading, and when all the elements, all the phases of that, you cut the tradition with the past. So you are no more Protestant, you are secular, atheist, materialist. You are no more nation state that served to liberate from empire, and now national state becomes at its turn obstacle. You are liberating from national state. Finally, family is destroyed in favor of this individualism. And the last things, the sex that is already almost overcome, sex optional, and in gender politics.
But it'll become overcome in name only. So who gives a shit? Again, it's not the end of the world.
Is only one step to arrive to the end of this process of liberation, of liberalism. That is the abandoned human identity as something prescribed. So to be free from to be human, to have the possibility to choose to be or not to be human. And that is the agenda, political, ideological agenda of the tomorrow. That is why how I see Anglo-Saxon world that you have asked of, I think that is just the vanguard of that process, because that's...
Is avant-garde one word, or I thought it was two?
With Anglo-Saxons, empirism, nominalism.
He was gonna say imperialism, but he had to stop himself.
Protestantism, and now you are ahead as Anglo-Saxon, more devoted to liberalism than any other European.
So what you're describing is clearly happening.
No, it's not clearly happening. Who gives a shit if people have imaginary friends, Tucker? Who cares if they want to identify as a walrus or if they want to identify as a deer, or Bambi? It's not happening. All they're doing is saying, don't look at us, look at yourself. And I'm like, no, you guys are invading other countries. You guys have a history of fucking violence. You guys went through almost half a century of fucking communism, and we're supposed to believe that you guys are honest actors? No, you're not.
It's horrifying. But it's not the definition of liberalism I have in mind when I describe myself as what we say in the United States as a classical liberal. Right? So you think of liberalism as individual freedom and choice from slavery, right? So the options as we conceived them as I was growing up were the individual who can follow his conscience, say what he
Ah,
thinks.
but that's false consciousness, Tucker. Being dominated and geopolitically, Finlandized by Russia is what you should have wanted.
Defend himself against the state versus the statism, the totalitarianism embodied in the government that you fought against, the Soviet government. And I think most Americans think of it that way. What's the difference?
Very interesting question. I think that is the problem is in two definitions of liberalism. There is old liberalism, classical liberalism,
yes,
and new liberalism. So classical liberalism was in favor of democracy. Democracy understood as the power of majority, of consensus, of individual freedom that should be combined somehow with the freedom of others. And now we have totally the next station already, next phase, new liberalism. Now it is not about the rule of majority, but it is about the rule of minorities.
So what are you against republicanism now, Dugin?
It is not about individual freedom, but it is about wokeism. So
you're not gonna bring up the fact that a majority rule is bullshit and we all have a constitution to protect ourselves against majority rule. You're not going to bring up the fact that, yes, in a republic, technically the minority does get to rule. It's not the majority all the time. Again, you'd have to look at the breakdown of the electoral college and whatnot.
You should be so individualistic that you should criticize not only the state, but individual, the old understanding of individual. So you are invited to liberate yourself from individuality, to go further in that direction. So I have spoken once with Fukuyama, Francis Fukuyama, on TV, and he has said before, democracy has meant the rule of majority, and now it is about the rule of minorities against majority, because majority could choose Hitler or Putin, so we need to be very careful with majority, and majority should be taken under control, and minorities should rule over majority. Majority, it is not democracy, it's already totalitarianism, and now we are not about defense of the individual freedom, but about prescription to be woke, to be modern, to be progressive. It is not your right to be or not.
We're already almost halfway through this, and we have not brought up why his books were banned. We have not brought up why his daughter was killed. We have not brought up any of this shit. We just asserted without evidence that this guy has no connection. He's not political. He's just a philosopher. He didn't do nothing.
To be progressive, it is your duty to be progressive, to follow this agenda. So you are free to be a left liberal. You are no more free enough to be a right liberal. You should be a left liberal, and that is a kind of duty. It is prescription. So liberalism fought during its history against any kind of prescription, and now it at its turn became totalitarian, prescriptive, not free as it was in some.
And do you believe that was inevitable? That process, that was always going to happen?
I think that is, I perceive here a kind of logic. So a kind of logic that is not just perversion or deviation. You start with one thing, you want to liberate individual. When you arrive at the point when it is possible, it is realized, so you need to go further. So, and you start to liberate yourselves from this time from old understanding of individual in favor of more progressive concepts. So you could not stop here. That is my vision. So if you say, "Oh,
well, it's just your vision, bro,"
I prefer old liberalism. They would say, the progressives, they would say, it is not about old liberalism, it is about fascism. You are a defender of traditionalism.
Which, by the way, traditionalism, he is so fast and loose with these fucking words. First off, traditionalism is the capital T tradition. Listen, he's not talking about Norman Rockwell apple pie monogamy. He's talking about Julius Evola racial caste systems and cyclical cycles of history. When he talks about conservatism and fascism, he is still talking about specifically, I would say, the monarchist type of people. Not necessarily, Reagan or William Buckley or any of these other conservatives types.
Conservatism, fascism, so stop here. Either be progressive liberal or you are done, or we will cancel you. That is what...
Well, who cares if they cancel you? I get canceled all the time. Just take it a stride.
We observe.
Well, it's certainly what we're living, and to see self-described liberals ban your book, which is not a manual for bomb making or invading Ukraine, it's a...
Oh, God, his face. Okay. All right. Correct response?
I heard you making a bunch of unsourced claims on the internet, so I just gotta say, citation needed!
That's what needs to happen. No, but we're gonna show that, yeah, there are plans to invade Ukraine in that fucking book. One of the books, at least.
These are philosophical works. Tells you that it's not, of course, it's not liberal in any sense. I wonder, though, when you reach the point when the individual can no longer liberate himself from anything, when he's just not even human, what's the next step after that?
That is described in the pictures, American pictures, films, in many ways. So I think that that all the science fictions, almost all of the 19th century, were realized in the reality in the 20s. So there is nothing more realistic than science fiction. And if you consider Matrix or Terminator, you have so many more or less coinciding version of the future with the post-human.
Yeah, but the future's not set. There's no fate but we make for ourselves, and you don't get to define what we make. This is an oldie but a goodie. Here we go. There we go.
You'd probably be more than just a little nervous about this fragile geopolitical situation. But fear not, for a textbook outlining exactly what you should do as the leader of Russia was published for you to follow back in 1997. The book is called The Foundations of Geopolitics, and
it was written by this fucker right here.
Written by this kooky dude named Aleksandr Dugin. It's basically a step-by-step playbook for Russia getting out of this dicey situation over the course of the 21st century, and it's evidently quite popular within certain political circles inside of Russia, and has even apparently been used as a textbook by the Russian General Staff Academy. So here's how it basically would play out if you were in charge and decided to follow it through to the letter. First off, let's figure out the situation in Europe. The book recommends that you work as hard as you can to set up an alliance with Germany. You should offer the disconnected Russian territory of Kaliningrad, which used to be a part of Germany prior to messy World War II, back to them in exchange for this alliance.
Again, Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, the reason it got blown up was to basically sever this alliance, to make Germany no longer addicted to Russian natural gas, and Europe as well, to basically have Russia control them. But the interesting part about it is right here.
Of a special status. Romania, Macedonia, Serbia, and Greece should all unite and team up with you at this point as the fellow Orthodox buds that they are, despite that whole pesky EU thing. Oh, and then there's Ukraine, which is basically just second Russia, so just take all that over using whatever means you can whenever you see a good opportunity, just like...
But hang on, I thought he didn't write any books, according to Tucker, to try to invade fucking Europe. What the fuck? What's going... Tucker, come on. Come on, Tucker. I expect better journalism for this. Call the walrus's bluff.
Human optional situation or artificial intelligence. Hollywood has made many films. I think they portray correctly reality of the close future. So, for
The Matrix is not real, Dugin.
example, if we consider the man, the human nature, as a kind of rational animals, so you could now with our technology you could produce them. So you could create rational animals or combine them or construct them, and artificial intelligence, strong artificial intelligence, neural network plus huge database, it is a kind of king of the world, I would say, that could not only manipulate but create realities, because the realities are just images, just sensations, just feelings. So
But buddy, we could do that already. We didn't need AI. It's called getting a pen and paper and having some imagination.
I think that post-humanist futurism is a kind of not only realistical description of the very possible and probable future, but as well a kind of political manifest. So it is not, that is kind of wishful thinking. And the fact that you have no bright traditional future described in the films. I don't know any movie of the future in the West made about return to traditional life, the prosperity, the families with many children. Everything is
Made in the West when? Because I could point to Little House on the Prairie. I could point to a lot of fucking shit depending on what time scale. If you mean the last 10 years, it'll be a little bit harder. But I guarantee you, it's out there. It's a big state. It's a big country.
quite
It wasn't
in
even by
shadow,
traditionalism.
quite black. So if you used to paint everything black, and the future especially, so this black future once arrives, and I think that is the fact, the same fact that we have no other option, either Matrix or artificial intelligence or something, or a Terminator. So
Well, we already have the Space Marines, and you're literally, your party that you're a part of, Mr. Dugin, literally has a chaos sigil from fucking Michael Moorcock. Shit is about to go down one way or another, but someone's gonna fucking feel it.
the choice is already outside of the limits of humanity, and that is not just fantasy. I think that is a kind of political project.
Speaking of political projects, here we go. The Eurasian Foreign Policy, Eurasia. Main principles of Eurasian, general observations. The path that the West has taken is destructive for itself and for all those who are tempted to follow it. The same West must be saved. Its civilization spiritually empty, false, and monstrous. Behind economic prosperity, there's a total spiritual degradation. We have false consciousness. Apparently, we do not need prosperity at the price of losing our human face. If the West insists on this road, let it fall alone into the abyss. Originality of Russia is different from both West and East. We're unique. We're special. And again, the data is out there. This guy is lying. He is flat out lying to people.
It is easily imagined because we have seen the films. They follow more or less close to this progressive, I would say, agenda.
So I've asked you no questions about Russia or Russian politics, and I'm not going to, because I think it's...
Because you're a fucking pussy, that's why, and you don't do your job. You'd rather get fame and fortune and almost 2 million subscribers, and this is the one chance you got. One fucking chance, but you won't fucking talk about it.
So interesting to see your perspective on countries that you don't live in, because we do gain insight, I think, from the view of outsiders. My last question to you is, how do you explain this phenomenon I have noticed where for over 70 years, a group of people in the West and the United States, liberals, effectively defended the Soviet system and Stalinism, and many personally participated in Stalinism, spied for Stalin, supported him in our media. In the year 2000, and they loved Boris Yeltsin because he was drunk, but in the year 2000, leadership of this country changed and Russia became their main enemy. So after 80 odd years of defending Russia, they hated Russia. What was that? Why the change?
I think
he wrote the fucking book basically trying to egg on the United States into a race war, so that way we don't reinforce NATO when the Russians try to take Europe. I'm not joking. That's literally what's in page 270 of the Foundation of Geopolitics, I believe. I'm fairly certain about that. I don't know the exact number, but it's there. Oh, it's there. It's in the fucking link in the description.
I think that, first of all, Putin is traditional leader. So Putin, when he came to power, from the very beginning, he started to extract our country, the Russia, from the global influence. So he started to contradict to global progressist agenda, and these people who supported you.
It's not just progressives. This is like the equivalent of saying if you're a progressive if you're against Sharia law. You're a progressive if you're against stoning a woman to death or rule of law. Like what they're doing is they're playing word games. Here we go. And there's a reason why he's frightened of Terminators, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. This is why. I mean, when you have a fucking sigil like that on your fucking flag that was split from the National Bolshevik Party, and you have the youth wing of this shit, the Eurasian Youth Union, and guess what? Who established it? After the Pan-Russian Eurasian movement was established by Aleksandr Dugin. So yeah, 2000. Right around 2000 is when this shit started kicking off, when he started opening his dumb fucking mouth.
Soviet Union, they were progressists, and they are now progressists. So they have felt that now they were dealing with someone who doesn't share this progressist agenda and who tried, and with success, to restore traditional values, sovereignty of the state, Christianity, traditional family.
Wrong. There have been more Muslim mosques built in Russia than there have been churches. In fact, they've gone so far to say that Islam and Orthodox Christianity has more in common with each other than they do with Catholicism. And it is such a fucking lie. Again, Tucker, you literally sat back and did nothing. You let this guy walk. Holy shit, mate. Like,
that wasn't evident from the beginning, from outside. But when Putin insisted more and more on this traditional agenda, I would say, on the particularity and speciality of the Russian civilization as some special type of world vision that
just say the fucking phrase Eurasia. Go on, say it, bitch.
Had and has now very little similarities with the progressist ideals. So I think that they have discovered, they have identified in Putin precisely what Putin is. So he is a kind of leader, political leader, defending traditional values. So I
get to decide what those values are.
Years ago, Putin has made a decree of the political defense of traditional values. That was turning point, I would say. But observers from the progressive camp in the West, I think they have understood that from the beginning of his rule correctly. So this hatred is not just casual, something casual or some mood. It is not.
Well, it's not casual. It's very serious.
So it's metaphysical. So if you if your main task and main goal is to destroy traditional value,
It depends on what you mean by traditional. It really, really does. Because one can make the argument that the nuclear family is not traditional. That the idea of having like 8 or 9 kids is fucking traditional. And having multiple mistresses and wives is traditional. One can make the argument that, depending on which tradition, which he never clarifies, by the way, that all you have to do to call this guy out is get him to the finest fucking terms and then say, well, what are you doing over here? This guy has literally dragged his ass on the internet so often, and no one calls him out, and the people who do, they get fucking silenced. But Tucker gets to fucking get, 2 million subscribers for this shit? He gets 2 million subscribers for softballing a fucking guy who's flat out said, let's egg on Afro-American racists to start a race war in the United States.
family, traditional states, traditional relations, traditional beliefs, and someone on that with the nuclear weapon. That is not smallest, the least, but the last but not least arguments. Someone with nuclear weapon to stand strong, defending traditional value, you are going to abolish. I think they have some basis for this Russophobia and the hatred for Putin. So it is not just by the chance. It's not some irrational change from Sovietophilia to Russia phobia. It's something deeper, I would say. It's my guess.
It's clearly something deeper. We felt it was important for your ideas to get an airing in English in the United States, simply because we believe in the open airing of ideas. I guess we're liberals that way. So we're grateful that you took the time.
What were his books that were banned, Tucker? What books were banned? What were the contents of the books? Did you ever ask him, hey, what the hell's going on? Why are these books banned? What are the contents? Actual fucking journalism. None of it gets fucking done. What is it right here? Oh, we're never gonna kill the Ukraine. We're not gonna invade. It's not like we're invading Ukraine. Let's see if I can find it here, where we actually flat out says it. Fucking crazy fucking walrus wizard. There we go. Compare and contrast. Again, I am not by no means, ladies and gentlemen, am I considered a actual journalist. But I'll tell you one who you can follow. Sergei Levy, this gentleman right here. Follow him. Because what did he say?
Progressive, if you say traditionalism, conservatism, fascism, so stop here, either be progressive liberal or you are done, or we will cancel you. That is what we observe, I would say.
It's certainly what we're living, and to see self-described liberals ban your book.
Ban the Bible if it's made by the Communist Chinese. Hashtag progressive banning.
Which is not a manual for bomb making or invading Ukraine.
Убивать и убивать больше, а разговоров никаких не должно быть. Как профессор, я так считаю. Я думаю, убивать и убивать больше, а разговоров никаких не должно быть.
In 2014, funny enough, that happened right around the time that Ukraine started actually getting invaded the first time, right? 2013, Aleksandr Dugin said that in his interview with the Russian propaganda channel Anya News, on Donbass, kill Ukrainians. No more talks. This is what I say to you as professors, if we need his fucking opinion as a goddamn professor. Academics are poison. But again, it's not like you're going to invade Ukraine. It's not like you're talking... He flat out is talking about killing fucking Ukrainians, buddy. He's flat out talking about, and the reason why he wants to kill the Ukrainians is because they want to have sovereignty. They don't want to be part of the Moscowitz bullshit central planning crap. And before people start saying, oh, the Soviet Union's over, what are you talking about? The Soviet Empire fell, true. But the Soviet boomer and the Soviet Gen Xer are still alive and kicking. So in 80 years, yeah, the Soviet Union will finally be gone. We can wipe it off the fucking of our boots and move on. And dust it off. But unfortunately, as long as the Soviet baby boomer fucks are still running and trying to destroy our country, trying to start shenanigans, let's say, in Europe, we will be there to face them. And they can cry about being an angel. They can garb themselves as an angel of light all they want. Actions speak louder than words.
Я думаю, убивать, убивать и убивать больше, а разговоров никаких не должно быть.
It's a fucking. It sounds like he's drinking too much, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a, these are philosophical works. Tells you that it's not, of course, it's not liberal in any sense. I wonder, though, like, when you reach the point when the individual can no longer liberate himself from anything, when he's...
Then you have to intervene and help him liberate himself from that false consciousness, then realize that the collective is always where it's been at all the time. So besides all this crazy walrus shit, what else we got? What else do we got here? I got Compromat on this guy for... I was collecting this crap since the fucking beginning. Let's see, there's that. Where is it? Russia tries to create Pan-African state. Let's see, where is it? Okay, I think we've done enough for now, but again, he has flat out said, let's invade Ukraine, let's take over Europe, let's Finlandize the United States and start a race war in the United States, so we don't have to deal with United States invading and basically taking back Europe from the fucking Russians. It's there, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to fucking make this interview clear because not only is he defending Christian values. Oh, we're defending Christian values. That's bullshit too. That's shit on a stick if I ever fucking saw it. Oh, we're defending Christianity. Yeah, traditional Christian family values. Let's look at that for a second. Let's look at what such traditional Christian family values are. I want to show the world what type of stupid, crazy Eurasian walrus crap that we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. This is where your Messiah comes from, ladies and gentlemen. This is what he's frightened of. This is what walruses fear. Walruses fear. They're frightened of the internet because they know that the internet doesn't fucking forget. Here we go. This is translated from AI.
This is significantly different. The thing is, the emphasis and forms of the masculine and feminine principles among Russians are structured quite differently. But primarily, it's evident that Russians are more feminine. It's no coincidence that Russian philosophy, as soon as it began with Solovyov, first and foremost, started to problematize the name. Specifically, the feminine principle in teachings, about the feminine aspect in the divinity of Holy Sophia. Solovyova and those who followed in the entire Silver Age, Russian...
And for those who followed in, let's say, James Lindsay, because even James Lindsay is calling this guy out. And, there are many things you could say about James Lindsay. I like him personally. I think he is way ahead of a lot of us, to be honest, in this regard. But again, James, I am hoping that he makes a response video to this, because it's not just the fact that Dugin is basically a Tumblr tier philosopher, and if you actually push back against him, he will fail.
Philosophy is obsessed with the feminine principle, trying to express this friendship, another gender, a model by its own means, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, sometimes reaching heresy, sometimes remaining within the bounds of cultural intuitions, as with Dostoevsky. In Tolstoy's work, notice the male characters and Tolstoy himself. Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, all the positive characters are feminine, they are attentive. They don't break things. Instead, they try, like Prince Mishkin, to heal the world's fractures within themselves. And they're not afraid to look ridiculous. It's a completely different style. Dostoevsky spoke a lot about this. So, this is feminine from my point of view. This is not just a common style, feminism of Russians, including Russian men. It's also a response, a reaction to this nomadic, ultra-masculine, super-masculine style of Western people. Essentially, we turn our feminine side towards them. It's only because they overemphasize the masculine. So what's our gender type?
Well, I thought we were soy boys, though. I thought we were fucking soy. I thought we were like the West was dying. Apparently, we're fucking Nietzschean Supermen, aren't we?
The archetype is the most complete. So I believe that it's neither feminine nor feminist. It's just a defensive reaction. In reality, an archetype of oneself exists for us. And Rosanov, in this regard, who spoke about the family, and the main eros is not the eros of men and not the eros of women. This is the erosion of the family as a whole, integral beginning. And the Russian gender, it is actually secondary to the family. The family comes first. And then the husband, wife, man, and woman. This leads to a non-partnership of two. And the unity of something whole. Holism, what in Greek is called thus androgyny. And speaking of Russian gender, I think Russian gender
I sexually identify as Russian gender.
is an androgynous family gender. It's architecture, A-type, balanced, integrated, where there is all gradients of male and all gradients of female in a very dialectical, complex interaction, the androgynous type of family, when to create, firstly. And to this, the church leads us as well. Two bodies united, it was, it torments us. And our traditional culture of settled peasant homesteads, which constituted the majority of the population. Over the millennium, the peasantry was overwhelming. But the class until the 1930s, the 20th century, most Russian people were peasants, and this has left its mark on all layers, up to the heights.
Sorry, I gotta.
During the Soviet period, we lost and mainly remained descendants of peasants. Thus, the specificity of the Russian gender or Russian sex, which perhaps explained, especially unlike the Eastern and Western type, by its androgynous family meaning, androgynous family, orientation in androgynous with family architecture. That is, for us, essentially, we do not...
We have Russian family architecture. But besides that, let me see what else I got here. Here's good old James Lindsay. Of course you did. Of course you did a fucking... And what are the responses? Well, because I'm not gonna log in. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. And because fucking, Elon Musk has to retard things to make it look better. And I'm sorry, but, it's always going to be Twitter. It's not going to be X, Elon. I hate to be the guy who says this, but, again, just let me fucking view a tweet. This isn't hard. This is making it harder for the rest of us. But it ain't just, it ain't just the Christian values, right? Traditional Christian values, right? Here we go. Here's another one for you. This is the traditional Christian values that the Russians have to offer. Or at least I should say the Soviet boomer and their children. Here we go. Oh yeah, by the way, all this is on my channel. If people want to actually, look at this stuff, I will show this shit to you. There we go. Oh, such tradition. Look at them. They're ancient Egyptians. They're all having fun. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. Oh, look at it. It's like fucking Krusty the Clown's bar mitzvah. Holy shit. Look at that. Such tradition. I mean, look at them. They're like Don Quixote or something. It's not satanic. What are you talking about? And then, of course, we have to give our praise to... everyone's favorite fucking balding bisexual British man, right? We have to, the guy who inspired people like Timothy Leary and the rest of the fucking, junkies of the 1960s and 70s. Yeah, we're gonna expand our consciousness, man. Well...
О мой Бог, един Твой исток, един Твой дух, едино Твое изменение. Позволь мне воспеть Твои совершенства.
Christian values, ladies and gentlemen. Christian traditional values. Ah, see, that's the trick right there. Whenever you add, I think it was, say what you will about Ben Shapiro, he was correct about the idea that if you add a modifier to something that's inherently good, it turns it evil, right? Instead of caring about the family, or family for that matter, you care about the traditional family, or the progressive family. Well, now it's not just justice, it's social justice. It's Christian justice, which, no, there's only God's justice. But, again, it's just really sad that they're seeing the failure of Western journalism really hit hard, to the point where, I totally understand why people would want, just to take power and have strong men. Because these people are sycophants. They care more about their clicks and their likes on Twitter than they actually do about fighting somebody who has, again, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I really am not. But I know that I could fucking get this guy and I could get him to fucking eat crow. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Like, favorite, comment. I will read the comment. Don't worry, it's all good. I just wanted to build up a discussion, so to speak. Anyhow, that's just me. It's the Renegade Podcast out.